Hey, this is Ryan from the 60 Cycle Hum the Guitar podcast with an update to my Epiphone Les Paul SL project. I've been working on this slowly on the channel here, doing upgrades, doing fixes, things like that. I swapped the tuners. I worked on all the frets that were uneven and awful. I put a Bigsby on here, a cheap, knockoff Bigsby, and I put some cheap Dan Electro style lipstick tubes in here that sound really fun. I've just been having fun with this thing. The last video I did with it, I was talking about how I was having problems with intonation. I thought it was the bridge, and I was talking about swapping the bridge and putting in a tune-o-matic bridge. I'd have to dowel the holes and re-drill them and do the whole thing. But people were commenting on the video that I should really look into how well the nut slots are cut, because I was having a problem with the intonation all the way up here in the cowboy chord area. I'd hold an A and the whole thing would go out of tune. I'd hold a D, the whole thing would go out of tune again. And it was very frustrating, and it sounded awful in the playing in the last video. I'll put a link to that at the end of this video so you can go check it out if you didn't watch it. But anyways, I checked out the nut, and those people were right. The nut was not cut correctly, even though, the nut was relatively smooth, like the strings wouldn't bind in it or whatever when I was doing, heavy bends or tremolo use or whatever. They just weren't deep enough. And so when I was pressing down the strings had farther to go and they were getting bent out of tune. So I went and bought this really cheap little file set off of wish.com. It comes with a whole bunch of little files in there. You can see all those, all sorts of different measurements made specifically for cutting nut slots. So I found whichever one matched up with each string, whichever nut slot, and I ground them out and made the nut slots deeper. And I didn't have a special, like measuring tool to measure them correctly or anything like that. There's special rulers that you can get for that sort of thing. I should have bought one. I didn't. And the consequence of that is that I accidentally ground out the B slot to be a little bit deeper than the high E. It's totally fine, and I could go back and I could grind the high E slot down farther to match it, but I kind of don't want to mess with it anymore. It's in a place where it's playing nice. I don't think anyone else picking up this guitar would be like, oh man, this high B is really a lot lower than the high E, because it really isn't that different, but I notice it. I know the mistake I made. Call it, a mistake by a beginner. I don't know if I'll ever cut a nut again, honestly. I've never had to do it before with any guitar I've ever bought, and the few times that I've had new nuts put on necks, I've had an expert do it. So I feel like I would continue to have an expert do nut work in the future. I don't think I'm as detail oriented as I should be to be working on that part of the guitar, honestly. I'm surprised I got away with the fret work when I was doing it. Like, I was honestly expecting to completely screw up this guitar when I was working on the frets, and I'm surprised it's made it to this point with all the wackadoodle stuff I've been doing to it. So anyways, this might be one of the last videos I do of this guitar. The thoughts I've been having about it are that even though I've fixed a lot of issues, it's just not a ton of fun to play still. I think it sounds good. I think it looks really cool, but there's a fun element missing in the playability of it, and I think that still is just the cheap neck on this thing. It just doesn't feel fun to me. The frets, I fixed a lot of the issues, but, I know what's wrong with it, like, when something's bad or something was bad, it kind of kills some of the joy, I guess, and I just don't have joy when I'm playing this guitar. So like I said, this might be one of the last videos of it. We have plans to possibly do stuff that might end its life. Steve and I picked up a case from NAMM this past winter, NAMM, from a company called Music Area. They're a Chinese case-making company, and they do a lot of OEM for big case companies that you are probably familiar with and might be surprised to find out that, their products are OEM'd by someone else. But anyways, we're really impressed with their cases. They gave us one, and they specifically requested that we do videos like the one I did of the mono case where I threw it out the window and the guitar survived. So this guitar might be the tribute for future abuse of cases and videos. If it survives, it survives. If it doesn't survive, or only partially survives, maybe that'll be a new direction for this guitar. Maybe the neck will snap off in the typical Gibson fashion. Maybe the body will crack in half. Who knows? Maybe it'll be salvageable. Maybe it won't. Or maybe it'll be just fine. Maybe the case will hold up to any abuse we throw at it. But I kind of feel like we want to find that place where the case no longer protects the guitar. So there's a good chance this thing could be at least partially retired at some point in the near future. All right, well, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, dislike. If you want to support this channel, check out the Patreon link coming up at the end of this little video. All right, I'm going to play out with some awful random noodling. I hope you enjoy it. Later, guys.